G'day guys, you'll excuse me if I don't actually open my eyes at the moment. So I've just got the residual pepper spray, just sort of keeps on coming in waves. It's quite tingly for the ears as well, actually. Okay, so here we are. I bailed at about 2ish, and by about, I think it was about just before 5, the police came in through, as I thought they would do, down the steps and into the camp, and they started smashing tents up, and then they just triggered things, and from what I can understand, it went fucking madness. And of course, there's things like there were fires, which actually the initial fire was actually caused by a generator being knocked over by the police. I doubt that'll be, I mean, who knows, maybe it does turn up in the mainstream, but the point is everything today will be selectively focused on every shitty thing that fucking happened that the protesters did, and will selectively cut out all the fucking efforts and all the attempts by people to actually create a protest that was based on peace and araha. And even like we were seeing, and there's a guy there, I think I got a photograph, I'll put that up on my Facebook page at some stage, but these guys turned up all sort of full of vim and ready to fucking cause some hurt, throwing things over the barriers, people telling them not to fucking do that. And nobody had seen these guys all week long. Like no one has come across these guys, and suddenly like there's a whole bunch of them, and so you can make of that what you fucking actually will. No doubt. Also, thing I have to go through the next couple of days is the legislation that's been passed through Parliament. I've been noting, I hadn't been sort of registering, but I hadn't quite clicked for the last few days. The parliamentary TV has just been playing pictures of paintings and not showing you any parliamentary proceedings or any bills passing through. So I got a funny feeling that the last couple of days they've actually snuck some pretty sneaky stuff, and then we'll sort of go and check that actually out. Okay, so somebody down on South Island, Jess Hudson, came up with this idea of the convoy tapping into the Canadian stuff, and she got it going, and it went viral for some reason. Like, I mean, the algorithms of social media, how they work, are beyond my majors. But anyway, her one went wild. People jumped on board, and I went from the first one, which I can't remember the date, so long, it feels like they all blew into one day, but we went from that one from Christchurch to Kaikoura, and what I saw there was, and every township I went for, was so much support. And yes, I don't have a doubt for a second. I'm seeing, people like the anarchists and the Antifa people turning around and putting the boots in and feeling all fucking cocky, and they're concentrating on people like mouthpieces like Chantel Baker and Counterspin, and the fact that people like me have been saying to them, these people for ages, these people do not represent what we're about. We don't want them there. The money that's behind them, the politics of what they're behind, is actually much more closely aligned with the government than appears the case. I mean, these guys are especially Counterspin, are heavily connected with the US intelligence and the mining community. It fits in perfectly with the Pacific Reset, which our government's tied up with. It fits in perfectly with what the plans are for the deep sea mining. And these guys have come along, and they've been the shit stirrers, and people like Brad Flutie picking fights with cops and getting tasered, and just being fuckwits, is no other word for it. And that's the people that the MSM have actually chosen to jump on and focus on at every step of the imagination. Now, someone said beforehand, I said, well, it's interesting because, last week I lost my live feed. Some of these guys have actually managed to keep their live feed. I think it's really strange. Someone goes, oh, you're being a tinfoil. I'm not. The reality is, I've had this thing for years and years. I don't put out anything controversial. I don't fucking advocate violence. I'm a pretty law-abiding person, and then I just want to see due process done. So weird that my live feeds could get cut, but other people that actually got an agenda, which you think would be, they talk about the American-style Trump politics that they want to shut down. But no, oddly enough, their feeds get loud out there, and of course the media turns around and gives them even more oxygen. And towards the end of the protests, from what I understand, things got pretty, people chucking bits and pieces, and it was just, people went to meltdown, and that's the sad thing is, it's like that joke about the fucking chicken. It's like all that fucking effort all week long, and that's what people are going to actually remember. But, again, I'm really disappointed. Like these guys, these little Antifa people doing around, they make all these comments about what these people are all about. How the fuck would you know? You never went down there. You never attempted to. You sat there and you did exactly what you accused these people of. Your bigotry, your prejudice, your slanted viewpoints, because you've got your own particular take on life, and all these things, which is like what you say is exactly what you've done yourself. Now, if you've gone down there and you'd spoken to people that are like the housewife I talked to from the burbs, she's not political. She doesn't give a shit about the right wing. What she gives a shit about is that she's got kids, that she's having to take a jab which she doesn't actually believe in. Now, you might have noticed recently that they've just passed the Novavax vaccine, which has come through, which is the one I've been holding out for. I'm happy to take this. For me, it's a traditional vaccine. I can live with that. Okay? Why didn't they fucking have it ready at the beginning? For all the people that don't want to take the Pfizer and email them, so now it's finally become available because they're realising that they're fucking losing traction. But of course, the efforts of all those protesters who have made that happen, who have managed to make the mandates ironically against the police and the defence forces recognise it's unlawful. I don't agree with the technology because they use, the methodology because they've gone after the 1990s. But the point is, all of that has been political pressure applied on the government, which has been collapsing and folding, retreating. That's to do because of those protesters. And it wasn't, as I said, these right-wing elements. It's to do with these ordinary Kiwis from that I've met all up and down the country that are just wonderful people. And, it's like people that are like me. I've lost all my clients from this. I spent 20 years working for what I've done, and I'm slowly getting somewhere. Bang, I'm right back to where I actually began, And there's the people there that I met who picked in the people that were, clearly not well, having to take a vaccine, not, really sensitive body physiology, not really, there's no way that these guys should have been able to have to take a vaccine, but no, that was a compliance. Everybody must comply, And and amongst all of these things is basically again the fact that these things that we were protesting against, to me, are just an extension of the same TPAPA protests that occurred the years beforehand. It's an extension of saying, no, we don't want to have our world run by corporations. That's what all the people from Antifa and Left were protesting against. And you know what? Those right-wing elements were there then too. But you know what? At that time, Labor saw the TPA groundswell movement as a means to get votes, just like the conservative elements have tapped into the protest movement, and you've got groundswell as well. So, it's that they've both done the same thing exactly. But it's in Labor's case, but it suited them to turn around and get that TPA vote aspect of it, so they were using their friends and fun to basically cut some slack. But those right-wing people were there. So what's the fucking difference? So, that's just my scene is there's been some very clever and dark public relations going on here, and this issue is much deeper and complicated than, you can't just put it on a black and white issue if you try. I've wandered down there all week long, and I've been listening to people, and I've been, hearing people talk about communism and, the Illuminati. And you know what? All that component actually is there. And when I always say, I hate the word Illuminati, because why don't you just call it the old boys network? Everybody gets that. You don't have to believe in Illuminati to get there is a patriarch that are very well connected, and they actually have these Illumini and networks that actually help facilitate and network the area. I mean, that's what they fucking excel at. It's how they manage to keep and consolidate their power. Same situation. Okay, they might want people put funny little terminologies on it, but who can deny that the world's power and wealth is centralized in such a short time, and largely post-COVID? We didn't have 0.1%ers beforehand. Now we do. Now we've gone from 90% controlled 10% to 99% controlled 1%. Now we're to the 0.1%. That's where we're actually at. So, as I said, that's been the crazy cat lady that the MSM wants us to focus on all the time, and they haven't turned around and doing the stories that I've spoken to the guys that have gone in there being beaten up by the cops, and have been initially actually kind of going, hey, not blaming the cops, just blaming the one bad apple, even though they took a huge hit, a ridiculous level of hits. I said the housewife that I spoke to, the couple that were actually sick, the couple that their grandfather, they couldn't actually be with their grandfather when he was dying because of the COVID situation. There's so many personal stories that make this not just about the jab, but, again, these components have been working in this crazy symbiotic relationship to control the narrative, and when actually the issue is much bigger and much deeper. We're in March, so in April we go into the new digital passport, which even Nikki Hager hadn't heard about, so I need to be, forwarding them those links, because he was like, what? This is what I'm saying. We've been so dominated by the COVID this, COVID that. We haven't been paying attention to things like the public state sector reform bills that have been passed, the digital passport proposal. All these things that are slowly being put in motion, and you don't have to have too much of an imagination to see where they're going, but they haven't received any airtime or any even mention from even these right-wing elements that the Antifa people are latched onto, all by the Antifa people because they're actually largely ignorant of the issues. Now, they're both guilty, as my cousin and my nephew Ruby pointed out. The level of disconnect in both parties has been very, very strong at times. So anyway, that's where I'm at, and that's been my. I'll obviously sit down at some time and have a bit of a deeper think and try to crystallise it. I am so exhausted. I said I've been here all week, and I was actually this morning. I'm going to leave this morning, and then I got that shifted on the following day, and I was just going to have a day off and just charge the batteries. And this morning it's been go, and I walked through the door with the intention of actually turning around and going back, but I just hit the floor and I fell asleep and said, sort of then I finally got the pepper spray, so the thing keeps coming back. So, exhausting. Great people. I've actually been all week long. We're very, very proud of you. I'm sorry that there has been so many components that have conspired against you. You've done a Herculean effort, and you should all hold your heads up proud. And I'm sorry that our government and our systems are so inherently corrupt. It literally breaks my heart. The Westminster system is a great system. It's got wonderful checks and balance, but unfortunately those checks and balance haven't been enacted. We've had constitutional changes which allow the government to have done what they've done, and not enough people out there really understand. I mean, like people talk about the common law, and some people I met really do know this stuff, and in the right hands, common law is phenomenal. Problem is there's so many fucking dickheads that went to school to eat their lunch that, it's all part of that whole adding to the ridicule. Same situation, you see so many for the sovereignty movement has been imported this American crap from overseas, and then actually sort of it confuses and muddies the ground about the fact that within that New Zealand sovereignty, Maori sovereignty, there is again some great solid material, but again that takes a media that can handle complex issues and a media that's willing to present things from a fair and balanced viewpoint, and we just actually haven't had that. And all week long I have watched what has happened on the grounds, and then I've seen how it's been reported on the media, and it has been just an absolute fucking smear campaign. The case example I point to you is the issue about saying that when they turned around and they created their own little toilets that they plugged into the wall. That was bullshit, and they knew was bullshit. And we corrected it because all those citizen journalists turned around and photographed it and put it up there, and then eventually turned around two-thirds of the way down an article, made this correct statement. But the original article was still up there online. So every time somebody reads that, that's the viewpoint that they're actually getting of what actually happened. I saw so many of those things happen, and I saw people down in Dunedin, these little sort of Pākehā characters who wear their little tiki tane, and then they sit down there and they go up to their little bars at the end of the day and they drink their $15 craft beers and they talk on about pretend like they're liberals. They're fucking not liberals, And they've gone along with the situation every step because it's made their lives easier, and they're part of the lucky few 5%ers. But ultimately, these are people that are ultimately incredibly selfish, and they've just gone along with because if they comply, that's how they've always managed to get through in life. And for the people that have actually turned around and said, no, we're actually going to question this, we're going to challenge it. These people have turned around and just acknowledging that these people, the protesters, have been just about as much there for them as just gone over their heads. So they don't get it. So anyway, that's where we're at, and thank you very much for all of those people out there. Steve, thank you very much for the support you gave me here in Wellington. To Chris for bringing me actually over. To Greg, who will be taking me back. To Camp Picton for all the infrastructure support structure that you've actually turned around and done. To all of those people out there, that have actually chipped and made it possible for me to get up here. Like you've actually, you've paid for my, accommodation. You've actually paid for my phone to be amped up, so I've had lots of data to be able to actually film and document this all stuff. So that is all, and you've actually basically paid for my food. So I actually have been able to concentrate all week on this task and not have to actually chase the almighty dollar. So again, big shout out and thank you for all of those guys. I have a donation page. I don't bounce about it because I figure that there's just something a bit creepy about doing that. But for all those people who have actually found it, or when I've approached them directly, person to person, and have gone, yep, sweet, big thank you to all of you. And I'm sure today, with a lot of people feeling pretty grim, I don't think this is the end of the battle at all. And it's really, the battle, people have said, again, it's all been about jabs and vabs. It's not. It's about making sure we still live in a democratic country where everyone has a certain degree of control over their own lives. And where we're moving towards, people are just, shit, it's horrendous, But there's some people out there that actually don't want to live that kind of live in a box, do as you're told, while the people at the top do whatever the fuck they want. And to you people, you're heroes, and you're New Zealand's about. And I'm very proud to have been with you this week.